Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show and your Thursday morning edition of Second Breakfast with the morning reprobates who have yet to arrive. How's everybody out there in TV land doing? We had a very late evening last night, hence there was no morning video. I've got a list of topics right here that I'm working on, but I don't want to rush anything. And last night we were cooked. We got in about 9:30 from the graduation ceremony. That was massive for 700 kids. There must have been 7,000 people there. It was just crazy. Howdy just got out of the 45C bath soak. Okay, I'm guessing that means Celsius, and I don't know what that is. We only do Fahrenheit here in the states, or at least that's what I'm familiar with. 45 degrees. That's warm for a glass of ice water. Part of my routine for healing sore muscles. I don't know if that's warm or cold. I can't do cold water unless I'm drinking it. I hope you're doing okay though, Shellback. Thanks for stopping in. Uh, I have been steadily knocking stuff off my desk, but because I'm a maniac, I keep bringing stuff back up here. Right now, I'm working on some Dungeons and Lasers sewer tiles that include 105. That's warm for me. I've got my water heater set at like 120. I think it is. I like it nice and steamy. The sewer tiles come with a couple of sprues of just flat water, which can be used for a lot of different things. It's clear. I really don't think clear is the way to go unless you've got an underlay, some sort of mat or something to make it look like a different color. And I'm going to work on finding some paper or printout of watery underwater terrain so that when I lay it down, it looks like something other than that because that's some pretty clear water, if you ask me. There are some tiles that are in blue clear plastic and green clear plastic. I kind of favor the green because the blue is just comically blue. It doesn't really work. And then there's clear orange tiles for the lava terrain, of which I have a crap ton to go through. I must have about 6 sets of that. It's just a single room, and then the big lava set, which is not really that big. But all these sets are actually really expensive online. So I'm looking forward to the new Kickstarter, which is the Dusk Hollow Kickstarter, which kicks off in a month or two. And of course, I'll back that. But I was also looking at the Outgunned Pirate Kickstarter, which looks kind of fun. 113. Okay, that's even better. That's decent there, Shellback. The Dusk Hollow Kickstarter is kind of like a Transylvania Gothic castles and temples and all kinds of outdoor with interior playable space with lots of vampires and mad scientists and things like that. But and while it's awesome, I mean it's incredibly versatile because it now has round walls. Dungeons and Lasers by Archon Studios. I definitely recommend you guys take a look at it because they do have stretch payments, which allow you to pay over 6 months. And for me, that usually uh, makes all the difference because then I can I usually get everything they make for that Kickstarter, and then a couple of extras depending on how big it is. And this one looks to be huge. I think there's like 9 different expansions, but you can now make round towers with floors. I think you can only make them so big because each piece is curved in a certain way, so you can only get a certain diameter tower. But that's okay. It's better than no round towers or like in the old days where it was all square towers, which either or is good for trying to build like castles and keeps and things like that. But they almost always allow you to buy legacy, what they call legacy items, which are Kickstarter items from days gone by, in which case I can grab some stuff that I'm missing. Uh, Lately, I've been discovering that the city streets was something that I should have picked up. Here, I'll show you what they look like. It comes with two sprues of street lamps, which is kind of cool. They're all the same design, which I guess that's what you'd want. But it comes with flat cobblestone streets. There's two tiles of that, in the just roads, and then roads with sidewalks that have L shaped here to make corners, single here to make curbs, and then just regular walkways in short pattern. And I'm gonna break these out and start painting these. I'm not sure if I want, because we're gonna use them kind of for sci-fi. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do these like with a white primer and thus make them brighter, or if I'm gonna go with black and make them so that I can use them, for either or, I guess. But I definitely want to do the roads in kind of a black with a few odd stones, thrown in the mix just cause. I saw the Tokugawa Gunpowder STL Kickstarter. I'm trying not to back it, but I am a sucker for the STL files that I don't have a 3D printer for. Sorry, man. I have a Snapmaker FDM printer. The first one I bought from a friend who just got a little bit of use out of it, and then decided to back the next one, so he wanted the next get rid of that one, and I overpaid for it, I think, or at least I paid what he paid for it. And it's now more or less obsolete, except for the CNC, the laser cutting, and things like that. I've never used it. It's in a box in the garage, just sitting there. Maybe someday I'll get someone who knows a little bit about it to pop it open and put it together when we open the shop, maybe, or something. But it's going to be like someone trying to figure out a freaking VCR by the time I probably get it onto a table. I just I don't have the space for setting up a, a printing station, but we'll see what happens. But the Broken Compass, which is the outgunned adventure sort of Kickstarter for pirates, and there's three different pirate eras, like a Jules Verne, uh, Pirates of the Caribbean, and like a more historical with all kinds of cool stuff and some fantasy elements to it. I really want to get a chance to play the outgunned game mechanic rules, but I don't know anybody who owns it, and playing it online, it's got so many cards and coins and little bells and whistles for the Kickstarter that it looks like it would be a great role playing game system in person, but online, and not so much. And I backed all three of the previous ones. I've got the like TV movie adventure movie Kickstarter. I've got the like Roaring Twenties, the Mummy kind of era Call of Cthulhu with a bunch of other stuff, and then I backed the superhero Kickstarter, which I should be getting in the mail damn near any day now. Remind me, I have a bunch of Fallout STL files uh, to get to you and Bo. Okay, Mark. Thanks. Hey, long time no see, man. How's it going? Shellback. I have a buddy who has a bank of 3D printers, at least four in his garage, but he's in Virginia and I'm in Japan. Well, lucky you. I've always wanted to visit Japan. I used to live in Virginia, and not so lucky for him. That place has turned into a place I wouldn't want to live. That's why I moved out. Actually, uh, it was not my cup of tea. Just saying, which is a shame. Now, with this clear plastic, you have to be very careful cutting any kind of clear plastic. Normally, I use the hot knife, but I'm doing just tiles, and if I'm slow and patient, I can cut them out without cracking, because the plastic is so brittle that it will crack if you're not careful. And if you use a hot knife, it just melts through without creating the tension that will shatter pieces. I've had that happen when we first started using this clear plastic, I shattered a couple of pieces because I didn't look where the pressure was going to move to as I was clipping. But it's kind of gimmicky with the clear plastic. You could just paint it to look like water, but it's just I haven't mastered that skill. To me, it always looks like paint. So maybe I can find some underwater scenery, kind of thing, and lay these down on it, or at least something closer than just light blue and white paint. There are a I backed one STL for the traveler ships years ago. I went in halvesies with a friend, and he hasn't done anything with it. He was going to start printing stuff, and I was going to pay him for his time and resin and blah blah blah, and that never happened. I need to talk to him because I absolutely love those traveler ships, those big giant 3 and 4 foot builds of the 200 and 400 trader and the 100-ton scout ship. That's why I got the spaceship that I'm still working on, because it was just the idea, of having the full, kind of like the old Millennium Falcon for your action figures. Freaking love that toy. That was just uh, it was amazing because it was pretty accurate to scale. We didn't see every nook and cranny of the Millennium Falcon in the movies, but it really felt pretty accurate. I wish they would have done that with the Ebon Hawk from Knights of the Old Republic. I'm sure there's an STL out there somewhere or something really close. Everything I've seen though has been like a smaller scale, which doesn't really, I guess for the Star Wars Starship miniature game that would be cool. It might even be a thing from the actual set, but I stopped getting those a long time ago. The prices for some of the ships were just crazy, and the game was just so when it came to like trying to play realistic Star Wars spaceship battles, because the fighter craft were just so overpowered that it just didn't seem realistic. Did I miss any? Okay, I always have to check the comment section because sometimes it doesn't let me know that there's new comments. It should just keep scrolling, but it doesn't. It makes you do the thing manually, and there have been times that I've just been busy talking or clipping or painting that I miss like a half hour's worth of conversation. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm also curious. I don't know if you guys have ever made sprue goo, where you take sprues and you throw them in some acetone and it melts the plastic. I'm wondering what that would do with clear plastic. If I could make a clear plastic sprue goo, because to me that sounds like a better. We usually use the sprue goo for like putty or squishing it into molds and then letting it harden, and you've got new plastic that you can use for other stuff. But every time I've ever done that, it just doesn't, in the molds anyways, it just doesn't really do anything of value. The pieces are warped and derpy looking. It was cool for making terrain that looked like it had been melted. I'll give it that, but trying to use like the Hearst Arts molds, uh, it just didn't really. It wasn't really worth the all the effort and the smell and the chemicals and the clipping. Um, Maybe I'll give it a try and see how it works with clear plastic, just to see if I can make like slimes and things like that. There are two ways to find out. Whoop, and what are those two ways, Shellback? Do it or have somebody else do it. 'Cause I made a big old jar of. Oh, experiment or Google. Okay, you know what? That's actually. Uh, I didn't think about that. I should have. I could just Google it uh, and see if anybody's had any luck. I know there's a couple of channels that really kind of specialize in making sprue goo. Um, One of them is, I think, the guy who kind of like coined the phrase and did it. I forget the channel name. I watch him not regularly, but every once in a while I'll catch one of his videos. That was easy. The hard part is not really the clipping; it's the trimming, because these pieces have to be really flush with one another, or your walls and your floors and things like that have big gaps, and then they create bigger gaps down the road, and everything is uneven. But I got to tell you, the Dungeons and Lasers terrain. I used to think Hearst Arts and or Dwarven Forge was the best, but Dwarven Forge is good stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've got some downstairs that I really dig, but unfortunately, the sci-fi stuff is now pretty much 25 millimeter scale now, or it was when I was getting it, and it just that doesn't really help when I'm using 28 to 32 millimeter miniatures. James L, how you doing, man? You're up early or up late? I think you're up late. I think it's like 2 a.m. there, and you should be sleeping. For some reason, the clippers are. I think they're dulling on this hard plastic. They're not wanting to cut now. Got to find my file and give them a little sharp in here. So, what are you guys working on? You got any new projects? I've got some, just a couple of minis on the way. I couldn't help myself. James, I showed you those blue oyster cultists that I modified. They're Reaper cultists, and they're holding up like a big giant onk. So I'll show you guys. I got it right here. This was an onk, but I just cut it off at the top and pinviced it upside down, because that is the Blue Oyster Cult symbol. And I'm just like, oh, it's just a no brainer. It wasn't hard, but because it is a tin, it was a little. I had to be careful with my pin vise, but I even painted this guy up to kind of match the Fire of Unknown Origin cover, because there's a bunch of Blue Oyster cultists in robes, and they've got a really like this color right here, this tannish orange, is literally part of the color of their robe scheme. And I'm like, that's an interesting choice, but I'm gonna go with it. Just reading Lion and Dragon Rampart skirmish rules today. Yeah, I where is my file? There it is. I need to give it a little go and see if that will help, because I've got four or five different sets of clippers, and I have to rotate them. Sometimes there's supposed to be a set of tools of everything I use for Jackie over here, but he's been absent for a while. Is that by RPG Pundit there, James? I'm going to later this month order his Gonzo game and review it. I've never read anything he's written. I watched his video last night on feminizing Dungeons and Dragons, or the hobby, if you will. Um, and I must say I not only agreed with him for the most part, but I also found him to be uh, different than what I had heard about him. He seemed like a decent guy, wasn't being a jerk about anything. Um, and he calls himself the what is it, the final boss of the shitlords. And I'm like, I'm not really seeing it. You seem like a decent guy. You sound like you know what you're doing. So I'm going to give him a shot. And he is a friend of multiple friends of mine. So, oh, Daniel Mercy. Okay. So I figured I'll see what his work is like. I'm not a big fan of the other, like, what is it, Baptism of Fire, and some of his other books that a lot of people like, his more historical gaming stuff. Osprey makes good books. We've got a few of them now, so I'm going to see what his Gonzo game is like, and if it has anything that I'd want to borrow for my own games. He also put out a sci-fi game, but I've got a dozen of those, and we'll see if his Gonzo game seems decent. I may pick up the sci-fi game. To be honest, the closest I get to RPGs are dungeon crawl board games and solo pen and paper games. That's the that's your thing. That's your thing, man. No need to apologize or anything. Uh, I, I I think in the next couple of years we're going to see a lot of those games make a comeback. If I was deep into RPGs, I'd have no time or money. Yeah, they do take up a lot of time, or they can. I don't know if you guys saw my video yesterday um, on the combat wheelchair. One of the last comments I got before I went to bed was I forgot who it was. Sorry, but a very poignant comment about a man who was paralyzed from the neck down back in the 70s and became a dungeon master, and how great a dungeon master this individual was. I'm certain he's passed away, but I couldn't help thinking how this hobby and things like role playing and whatnot must be like literally a lifesaver. I could only imagine how utterly miserable that must be to be stuck in a situation like that without an escape of some sort. Shabak. He rambles down rabbit trails too much for me to follow. I do want his books on my shelves, but I don't have any immediate plans for buying RPG Pundit stuff at the moment. I'm sure they'll still be there. I hope. I wonder where that went. I hope they're on Amazon because just not a fan of Lulu. Uh, while my friend Bo had some issues with the print and they were just absolutely awful to him, which is more than enough reason to never want to go through Lulu. Most of the stuff I received from them was fine. I really couldn't complain about that. What I did not like was the 2 to 3 month wait time to get the product in my hands. Amazon can get me any book they print in 2 days. 2 days. That includes shipping and printing time. That's insanely fast. When I worked in the print industry at a print factory, we couldn't get anything out that fast. Except maybe our order for pizza on Fridays. We it takes a lot of time. It's you've got other customers whose projects you're working on, and now you get a new order that's got to go, on the bottom of the queue, so to speak. And if it takes a week, it takes a month. I get it, but if a company out there can do what they do, then it just behooves you as a publisher or a writer to go that route and say, okay, hey, you know what? Because I've literally forgotten that I made purchases through them, and drive through. They're a little faster, but sometimes the quality. I've had 2 returns with drive through, and we'll see how things go. I think, as a matter of fact, it's through drive through that Pundit's books are available, and I'm going to see if they'll take my money. They did last time. I was very happy that they did, and if that turns out to be a thing I can do now, then I will be reviewing more games and supplements and things like that through drive through, and like the reprints of the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, DMG, and Unearthed Arcana. were stellar. I couldn't have asked for better copies. Unfortunately, those are like the only books they still do for AD&D in hardback. Everything else is soft cover, and the books that they do in soft cover never originally came out in soft cover. So why would I want the Fiend Folio in soft cover? Um, I can literally just buy. It's funny. The Monster Manual 2 and the Fiend Folio, and to a lesser extent, the Wilderness and Dungeoneers Survival Guides, not so much Manual of the Plains and Oriental Adventures. I can get those on eBay for about the same price as a reprint. So why would I do that, right? I don't know. I'm gonna keep picking them up as I find the need for them. I have close to two complete collections of the AD&D books. I want to have three or four so I can send Jackie away with at least the core books if he ever decides to, go off to university or something like that and wants to bring some books with him. Even though I know the people that he's most likely to play with in college would be 5e or players like that. And knowing how he does things, I don't know that would be uh, an easy learn for him. Not that he couldn't pick it up, but he's just not very uh, prone to really diving in when it comes to reading uh, anything other than horror fiction and school books. Those clips are pretty good. Sharpening definitely helped. You'll notice I'm using. Hey puppy, what's up? I use nail clippers, toenail clippers because they're sturdier for making really close cuts. On like after I've cut something off a sprue, I was talking about this the other day. After I cut something off a sprue, there's always a little nub left over, and this gets in tighter than any other clippers I own. I mean, literally any of the clippers I get from the hardware store, they can't come as close as these. What do you want? You want to go outside? What do you say? You sneezing? Allergy season for you? Come on. Come up and say hi. I know that's what you want. Come up and say hi. Are you stepping on something? Come on. Come on. Say hi to everybody. Okay. You're a good boy. You ready for a haircut? I don't want to rub your belly. I'm busy. I'm busy doing people stuff, dude. Come on. I'll open the door for you. You can go toddle off and bother somebody else. There you go. There you go. He'll be back. And by the way, George and Dave, if you're watching this, it's my new door opener and closer because I needed something so I don't have to bend over and reach so far to close and open the door for the little monster. Comes in handy, real handy. So that's what I got going on today, folks. The weekend's coming. Gonna try and get the family to go to the swap meet, see what kind of junk we can bring home from there. Always find something cool at our local swap meet. Unfortunately, it's not close. It's about a half-hour drive, and it's only open on Sunday. Can you imagine that? Only on Sunday. Missing out on Saturday morning. I have so many great memories of the swap meet. Waking up early. Usually for us growing up, it was because the gun show was next door, and my old man, often had a table there. So we'd get up early. We'd set up. We'd walk around the gun show, see if there was any good deals, and then after a while, like around lunchtime, the old man would say, "You guys can go, take off and explore." So we'd sneak into the swap meet and come back with junk. For me, it was always comic books. That's where I learned the value of comic books, in that they go up in value. And I still have the very first comic book I bought in a comic book bag and board. I think I paid 25 cents for like a 10 or 15 cent Avengers comic book number 64. It's probably the oldest comic book I have in my collection, back when Hawkeye was Goliath, I want to say, or Giant Man. That guy went through so many different like identities, it seems. Oh, see, I did it again. Sure did. War games and board games have helped me put myself back together after ignoring too many injuries, for sure. Right? I'm sworn off Amazon because they send fragile stuff around the world wrapped in paper. Yep. Friendly local game store actually has good prices, as does the art supply shop. I would probably still buy books on Amazon, but minis, nope. Hey, what's up, squirrel? Shellback says the Sleeping Dragon book one of Keepers of the Flame by Joel Rosenberg as my answer to the wheelchair dialogue. The story is about a bunch of college students who become their role playing game characters by order of the Peaky Blinders. Including a wheelchair bound guy who plays a dwarf berserker. I picked up the Fiend Folio reprint when it was about $10. Wanted a table copy. Nice, nice. I'm just wait. Yes, I'm telling you guys, these things, toenail clippers, and get a brand new pair. I mean, you could use an old pair, but um, that's kind of gross. Get a brand FF Fiend Folio. The file on it is okay, I guess. I highly recommend also getting a good set of gunsmithing files, or whatever they're called now. The half round. I got a set of my dad's old gunsmithing files, and I've had them in my collection. He didn't notice that I borrowed them, and I've had these in my collection for about 40 years. And the half round, where it's round on the top and flat on the side, is the only file you'll ever need. And this one is tiny. It's really really small, but it gets in there like James Ellen. I talk about it all the time. A lot of people will use the Exacto knife to get rid of mold lines, usually using the dull edge, but oftentimes using the sharp edge to get those little nubs that I was talking about. And I cannot tell you how many times I've just exerted a little bit too much strength, and suddenly, where I wanted to just cut off or scrape off an edge, I've now made a cut, a deep cut that then curls out. And the only thing you can do is clip it off, file it, and putty it up to make it look like you didn't do that. With a file, you can't do that. Each and every whoosh, swipe, you could look and go, "Am I done? Okay, I'll do it again. Whoosh, am I done?" And the mistake, if you make one, like you hit it too hard, or scrape the underside of some other thing like an arm or something, it's almost negligible. It's more control, slower. You got to be a little patient, but even if you want to go, you can't mess up. You know what I mean? You could maybe make I guess if you overdo it, you could make something, but then you just go right back over it and level it out. And I'm sure you could probably find a good set of metal files. Just look for metal files, really small. Let's see if I can measure this one. This one, it's really it's a half a centimeter wide from widest point. And I'm telling you guys, these two tools I use far more often, except when I'm clipping like now, where the clippers do the heavy lifting. Will save your minis any nicks and cuts. Uh, yes, you do spy several rosaries. One of them was actually made by our good friend Mac Thompson. One was actually made by the Crafting Gamer, who They both made them by hand. I'm sure they didn't make the actual crucifix, but they put everything else together. Really appreciated that, and that's why they hang in this sort of place of honor with some other things from our church and things like that. And you know, that's just how we roll. Dude, your dog looks just like my dog Atari. He's the best dog ever. I know they all are, but I mean, this dog, he knows sign language. He knows some words in Spanish. I think he's just following the gestures. Um, and like like right now, if I say water, he'll let me know if there's water in his bowl. If we ask him certain things, he understands. He knows probably more than 25 commands or words that he can answer with a bark for yes or no. Um, I use the speed paint markers on 15 millimeter scale. They're actually solid, work well. Glad to hear it, Squirrel. I don't think I'm going to be buying into those just because um, it just seems like another thing I have to keep track of on my table. Uh, but they're Final Fantasy, I know, right? Uh, and I've got hundreds and hundreds of bottles of paint that I need to use, and I need to uh, exercise that memory muscle of using a paintbrush. It's a different set of maneuvers and techniques for different kinds of painting that if I just go back to using a pen or drawing type maneuvers, it splits my skill, if that makes any sense. You like the AK ones, but they're opaque. Hey, what's up, Steven? Saturday morning was band practice for me. I never did that. I was in a band, several bands actually, several really crappy bands. What's up, Dean Powell? But I absolutely love the swap meet. I'm only looking for a couple of things, but occasionally, when I see, military gear, camping gear, books, of course, are number one priority. Of which there are fewer and fewer places that actually sell books. Like I was talking about yesterday, the nearest bookstore is over 150 miles away. We have a Barnes and Noble, but that's not what I'm looking for. I can just go online and get that. I can get that cheaper than buying from Barnes and Noble. And if I were to go into a good used bookstore right now, I would probably fill up the trunk. Just uh, no question, just fill up the trunk. Just cart them to the car. I'll take all these books and probably clear off entire shelves of the sci-fi, horror, survival, self-help. And if Jackie was with me, the history section and the gun shows. Oh my god, so many good times, so many great things. I have something I found at the gun show um, when I was probably between 9 and 12 years old. It's a Flying Tigers arm patch. I was just the biggest fan of the Flying Tigers as a kid. I had like half a dozen of those airplanes hanging from my ceiling in formation, along with a bunch of other model kits hanging from my ceiling. And I've kept it ever since. A huge pack rat. And the things that I picked up at the gun shows. Last gun show, I picked up three swords for less than $100. The Highlander replica, a really old scimitar, and another broadsword slash hand and a half sword that are out in the garage. I picked up my spiked baseball bats there. Just so many great things. I need to get some gas masks and wool blankets. Those are number one on my list, along with a couple more canteens. And if I can get the original WW2 Korea entrenching tool, oh, those are so popular around here. Grandma loves mine so much that she hid it from me out in the backyard or left it there, and it got pretty rusty. So I got another one in the case and everything. $20. I mean, one of the best investments you can have if you're going camping. You'll use that, for all kinds of stuff. but I want to get a couple more. What's up, Dean? Everybody's saying hi, Steven. You can get those files at most hobby shops. Cool. Short rib and mac and cheese. Oh, that sounds so good. I've got rosaries in various places myself. Shellback. Uh, I'll not buy anymore. Was just an experiment. um, yeah. I don't yet know because I'm even though I was born a Catholic, I'm new to all of it. My parents didn't take me except I think I got my first communion, all that stuff. Um, but I lost all that information because we stopped going when I was about six, maybe. So I don't know the actual prayer. You know how you use the prayer bead type thing. I don't know how any of that works. I'm working on it. Okay, this one sounds. Opaque markers are great for heraldry shields, picking out detail like gems and studs. Okay. Dean Martin, could be better. My left ear is still ringing from a kid at work screaming three. Oh my God. I had the same thing last night at the graduation. It was so crowded. Mind you, we didn't get there like we should have. We should have gotten there sooner. Um, the only spot I could find was at the very top of the bleachers. On the second set of bleachers they filled, filled the northern one first, and the southern bleachers. And the only place I could find was at the very top with one. Someone had taken the very top one, the back row. Um, I guess because it has backrests, which I would have done too. If I'm going to get a shitty seat, at least I'm going to be comfortable, right? And there were these two ladies right behind me on either side, scream because apparently they knew everybody at the school, all 700 graduating students. They knew them all, so it was just like I can't hear anything after a half hour. Plus the echo, it was like ridiculously bad back and forth from the speakers, you know. So I had no idea what was going on. I was trying to follow along with the program, and then my wife says, "Look, there's a screen over there." I'm like squinting down on the field trying to see what's going on, and she's like, "You know, there's a TV screen over there." I'm like, "Great." Halfway through, what's up, Cold Iron? I picked up a couple of jerry cans last show I went to. That's actually a good investment. I actually have a video of 10 items that the U.S. military has discontinued. Definitely go out and get your wool blankets. I'm not going to tell you the number one item because until I find one, I don't need the competition. I would like a couple of compasses. Like I said, the gas masks, canteens. I have some web belts, but one for the boy wouldn't be a bad idea to get, you know, all the pouches and the suspenders and all that for camping, as well as good backpacks. But we never really do any, you know, the backpack is to get stuff from the car to the campsite, so it's not like, you know, we're going on a big, you know, 10-mile hike or anything like that. Oh God, they would all die if they had to do that. Uh, Me especially. Back in the day, I could do that all day long, but now not so much because I'm old. The kid at my job is a 33-year-old foreman. I'm guessing he's older than you, and you're not a big fan of that. I can understand, but that's what happens when you take your second, third, or fourth career job later in life, and you got to compete with these youngsters, and it's not easy. I don't ever want to wear those belts ever again. I get it. I grew up wearing them as a youngster because me and my friends all wanted to play army, you know, because we're old and that's what we did. And so, you know, my dad said, "Well, I'll help you out." I had a World War II helmet and liner, the whole bit. I had uh, this was great. I had the web belt, but I also had a real 1911 leather holster so that I could put my Daisy uh, BB gun in it. I mean, I had it all, dude. I had the whole all the gear, and that BB gun fit in there perfect because it was modeled after the 1911. Kid hyped on caffeine and nicotine is never fun. Well, I can think of one situation where that could be okay. And I don't want my kid or my kids' friends on nicotine, but caffeine when they're at the table and they're all, excited for the game, that's fun. Listening to them, from up here or around the corner, listening to their game. They're quite clever kids, and whatever it takes to keep the hobby alive and keep kids doing this. I mean, there's so many things they could be doing besides this. Um, whether it's like we did ride bikes or they don't have arcades anymore except at the mall, which is such a freaking shame. I'm 39. He's just failing at his job, and he knows it. I'm playing interpreter for my Japanese coworkers. I work in a warehouse distribution center, picking stock with a forklift. He's from Los Angeles. Well, I wouldn't hold that against him unless he's got like blue hair or something. He could be an okay kid. I don't know. Uh, don't even want to get into the LA elections and California elections right now, because I know, and we all know, they're going to do something fishy. They have every time. I, as far back as I can remember here, miraculous things seem to happen overnight when nobody's looking, and with mail-in ballots. I mean, how dumb do they think we are, really? You know, like I said, it doesn't matter. But all that matters is who counts the votes. And well, you know, we don't count the votes; they do, and they want things a certain way. And clearly, everybody else wants things to change and get better, but they don't. They like it the way it is because they're making millions and millions of dollars on a corrupt system that at some point is going to be plain and obvious for everybody to see. But he just doesn't have the leadership training or experience. I used to run a 45 sailor maintenance work center. Right. Well, he's got to learn somewhere, and you know, maybe you could be that guy. Inspire him to be better, teach him stuff. I was watching some videos a while back on all the things our old man, our dads, used to teach us. Simple things that like last night I was at the graduation, and they start playing the national anthem. What are you supposed to do during the national anthem? Two things. Three if you're if you want to sing along, right? The words. Cool. You stand up, hand over your heart. I was like one of the only, not the only one standing. I'm not going to go that far because most people did stand, but there was a guy right next to me. To usual suspect, refused to stand. And made it quite clear that he was silently protesting. Like, then why are you freaking here? You know. But the hand over their heart, one guy besides me, way off down there, I could see a guy, you know, looking up, thinking the same things I was thinking probably. Um, just had, oh my God. I when I see people wearing a hat indoors, I'm like, why? It's not going to rain, inside your house. You got a leak or something, and I know our friend DM James, he's always wearing a hat. And I do too sometimes. And so, I'm not really including him because like when we're doing this, sometimes like if I put this stupid hat on for OGGM's game, it's not a matter of anything other than playing around, being in character. It's Jackie's hat, but I swiped it. He swipes enough of my crap. I can borrow his hat for an alternating Saturday. But outdoors or not outdoors, obviously, but like outside my house, if I go into the store, if I go to an indoor school event, hundreds and hundreds of people wearing hats. You take your hat off. You take your hat off if you're outside, you pass by a lady. If you're walking with the lady, she's on the inside of the sidewalk, you're on the outside because if any mud, shit, or bullets is coming, you're there to block it and to keep people, from harassing her. It's also I found out that thanks, Shellback. If you're walking with a woman and she's on the outside, that's like a street thing, sort of uh, a way to show that she's for sale. Blows my mind that that's even a thing, but she's a streetwalker, whatever you want to call it. You just don't do that. If somebody walks into a room, male or female, and you're sitting down, you stand up, you let them know. It's like, hey, welcome to the whatever this is. There's all kinds of things that we just don't do, and the reasons that schools and other institutions came up with to stop people from doing those things were just ridiculous. It's just like, can we have some decorum, some decency, some tradition, some values, some respect for one another? Nope, nope, nope. And I try to teach Jackie all that stuff, and a lot of it, I'm surprised he does on his own that I've never mentioned. They try to teach civics here, but I blame informality rather than politics. People shop in their pajamas. Oh, I know, I hate that. I mean, I'll wear sweats. I'll never wear my slippers. I see that. I'm just like, you know, those slippers are not really meant to walk outside. The textures of outside versus inside are vastly different. And if you want those nice slippers to last, you don't wear them outside. Occasionally, though, I have forgotten and warned them to go get the mail. You know, but that's just because I forget, not because I'm too damn lazy. My other shoes are right there. Intro yourself and give a handshake. Yeah, yeah. That's why I was complaining the other day about the priest when I shook his hand. It was like shaking hands with a wet dish towel. Just mind you, he wasn't born here, and he was born in a place where people are by and large meeker than they are here, or at least they are in certain ways. I mean, they can get uppity just like anybody else, but it's like freaking you're a man, shake hands like a man, look him in the eye, not creepily or anything. Two pumps, bump. Nice to see you. How you doing? That sort of thing. Just simple things that you just made little things seem like a big deal. Turned them into a big deal, and not in a bad way. Not like I'm better than you. More like I'm acknowledging you exist and that we run in the same circles. Therefore, at the very least, we're something more than just acquaintances. And the whole I don't even know. A lot of people don't have present parents or good teachers. People look at etiquette as antiquated, but it does actually build trust and help communications. Not only that, but the thing I enjoyed about the video, and if you guys like, I'll put it in my Discord, was the way um, it signaled to other people, especially older people, that you were brought up right. And the examples in the video, and I know it was AI and whatnot, but it still sent the message that a lot of these kids when they did these things, in front of other grown-ups, that day rolled around when they needed a job and they got picked sight unseen, so to speak, because they they performed one of those little social rituals at the proper time for the proper reason, without thinking. It was just second nature. You do this, You just do it. You don't ask why, or if you do, you ask why, so that when it's your turn to teach your boy or girl why you do these things, you do those things. And you know, especially living in a small town like I do, a lot of people know me that I don't know, or they remember me because I did a little thing. There's a couple of cashiers at my local Walmart that I always say hi to. I don't know their name. I don't remember. But I look a certain way. I know, and I do that on purpose so that when I do these things that people will recognize or remember me. It's like, hey, that guy was kind of cool. He's at least decent. Above and beyond the call of duty, so to speak, so that you know if I'm ever in need, I'm broken down on the side of the road, and they see me, working on the wife's car or something, or we bump into each other in some other place. I've literally had several encounters like that where someone said, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, I'm the cashier at Walmart. Remember? And I'm like, oh yeah. We were talking about shrimp and stuff. It's funny. Uh, I've got this cashier at Walmart, and he is the spitting image of Forrest Gump's best friend. The shrimp gumbo, shrimp. And sure enough, we got into that discussion once, and he didn't. I don't think he realized, and it's not a bit. He's not like trying to do that. That's him. He's like the reincarnation of that character, and he doesn't even know it. And I recognize that he's just a decent guy trying to make a living, taking care of his family, etc. So we always say hi, and that's it. That's enough. I don't even own sweatpants. I hate seeing others out and about in them so much. Yeah, well, uh, here's the thing, man. I'm cheap, and when I gained a bunch of weight because of COVID and stuff, I did not go out and buy a new wardrobe. I have sweatpants. I wear them. I'm just around the house 99% of the time. Nobody sees me. You guys don't see what I'm wearing. I might not even be wearing pants right now. Um, you'll have to just, take my word for it. But I know that at any minute, not any minute, but soon I'll be able to back, as Ron White says, into a whole new wardrobe. And like the other thing is, I really like Levi jeans, but I really hate the company now. Um, what putting the no gun? I don't know if you ever saw this. It was a few years ago. On the Levi's have that little brown label on the back, lets you know they're Levi's and what size they are, and it fades eventually. But they decided to start putting a red circle with a red line through it, and behind that a handgun. So no handguns. Like, what a kind of dumbass of course you're not carrying a handgun in California, and if you are, you're not advertising. If you're legally allowed to conceal, or if you're not, you're not advertising. Hey, I'm not carrying a gun. And why would you have that on your clothing, on your ass? Because that's where it is, right over your hip back there. Um, why would you advertise that you're or telling everybody I don't like guns, big pussy. Well, I don't know. Since then I don't buy new Levi's, and I've got like 20 pair that I can fit into if I lose a few pounds, um, and I'll just keep those, or maybe I'll buy some from the swap meet, or something like that. I'm not going to buy them from the Levi Corporation, and put any money into their hands. Um, James L says, I dress pretty casually, but if I'm going somewhere, it's just a shortcut to be treated better by doctors, waiters, policemen by wearing a shirt with a collar. Yep, same here, same here. Uh, and for church, absolutely. Uh, Occasionally, I'll wear a T-shirt, like what I'm wearing, because I think it's fun to see if anybody recognizes. Like last night, I forget what shirt I was wearing, but some kid, he couldn't have been 18. Noticed my Conan shirt, I think it was. It's like, that's a cool shirt. Where'd you get it? Oh, eBay. It's like, that's Conan. I'm like, yeah, damn Skippy. Uh, occasionally, I had a guy walk up to me like practically chase me down because he saw I was wearing my Creature from the Black Lagoon shirt. I love that movie, man. I'm like, yep, best of the monster movies. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked for a minute, and he went on his way. I went on my way. You know, Conversation starters. When I can get the Shadow and Sun T-shirts, I'll probably just wear those when I go out. What's that? I'm so glad you asked. I wear shorts everywhere. Shellback, it's got to be really, 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 really hot to do that. Even when it is, little secret, I'll usually wear like thermals under whatever I'm wearing because it just helps burn not a lot, depending on the day, but it helps burn some calories so that even if I'm not trying to exercise, you know, I'm burning a few extra calories because it's black and it's an extra layer. And at my age, I can't really go to the gym and do the stuff I used to do. So any little trick really really helps. Plus, like I get cold easy, and unless it's 80 plus degrees outside, you know I can always wear a sweater. It's way too much information, right, guys? But it helps. The first time I really needed to lose some weight, I did that because I saw someone saying, wear two pair of sweats when you're working out and stuff. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, you just turn yourself into a little built, walking sauna. Oh, James, uh, I'm pretty much on my way to 2XL from 3XL. Yeah, I'm trying to get back down to M from large, and even some of my large shirts a little tight. I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's not me. I'm happiest at about 165, but I got down to, if you watch the very first video of our channel, I was hovering between 145 and 150 because I had really taken it like to the extreme. I got into diet mode and I couldn't get out, and then COVID hit, and then I'm like, I can't do 90% of the stuff I was doing, and slowly just packed on another 30, 40 pounds that I gotta get rid of. I always liked the British Italian tailoring brands that the mods and the skinheads and the reggae kids liked. Groovy paisley shirts and sharp Fred Perry. I don't know what Puola polo. Maybe you meant polo. Yeah, polos. I don't like polo shirts. I used to have to wear them, and I didn't like them. What I did like though was the entire wardrobe from the TV show UFO. Oh my God, I wish we could bring that back. And if not, just make a store where I could buy that and I'll be the only one. And I'll be wearing that, thin lapels, uh, the really nice shirts with the high collar, but not the wraparound collar, if you know what I mean. Kind of like a priest collar almost. I have a couple of shirts like that. Um, and just the I don't know who designed, I have to look into that and see if I can't find some of that. Um, and then there was this movie. It's like I think it's an Italian movie. It might not be, but it's not. It's not an American movie. Of this back in the '60s, it was a movie about a TV show about assassins who have to hunt and kill each other off to win the prize in the game show, and it boils down to this man and this woman are hunting each other down, and their clothes and everybody else's clothes are very similar to what they wore in UFO. I just saw a couple of clips and I went, that is it. That is the height of human fashion. I lost about 5 pounds this week. Sent a new prescription on Monday. Cool. Squirrel says, I wear my work clothes or my kung fu pants and baseball tee or nice jeans and a polo. eBay rocks for band shirts. That's where I got my Priest. One of my Blue Oyster Cult t-shirts. I'm looking at another Judas Priest t-shirt. I might get an Iron Maiden um, and a few others. I have an old Rush t-shirt that I can't fit into, but it's one of those shirts with the baseball jersey sleeves. and I got it for the Signals tour at the concert, and it is so thin you can see through it. It's so thin you can barely even feel the fabric. It's unbelievably thin and cheap, but I still have it. I also have a Joan Jett and the Blackheart shirt that an ex girlfriend got me. It's sleeveless, so I never ever wear it except like under something, because that's to me that's just kind of just not my style, you know. Uh, I sweat in pants. I sweat even in shorts. Okay, yeah, I do too. Um, but I kind of try. I've only done 10 miles this week, too wet and cold. You know what, James? I used to, believe it or not, when I was trying to lose weight, I would run in the house, whether I was running in place, because that works. If you get one of those kitchen mats, they're like about this thick, soft, squishy stuff. Um, and you just put it in an out of the way place, like in front of your TV, if you can't afford or don't have the space or don't want a treadmill, because I hate those things. And just run in place. It's not real good on the knees. I will warn you, but or just walk a lot in your house, even if it's just pacing. I did that when I was training my dog to go to the bathroom outside. When he was a puppy, I've got this long walk. It's about, I think it's about 50 feet, and I took him out because it was gated at both ends, and I was trying to potty train him, and I would walk from one end to the other, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he would just follow me. He's just running, running, a happy little puppy, just happy to be near me and outside, and we just back and forth, until he had to go to the bathroom, and then as soon as he did, I told him what a good boy he was, and every other time he would do something inside, we'd let him know that he was a bad dog. Shouldn't do that. That's not what you do. Take him right back outside, later, like an hour or two, knowing that he's going to go again. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Good boy, good boy. And now he will wake us up in the middle of the night by gently finding our hand and just putting his nose under it. It's like, hey, hey, woof, I need to pee. I'm old. I gotta go outside. And we let him out. It's it's uh it's awesome because he knows, like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom, and you guys are the only ones with fingers. I'm a Northman. If it's over 60 Fahrenheit, I'm sweating. Uh, okay. I'd be a 2XL or 3XL European even if I wasn't fat. Yeah, and God help you if you ever buy from China. Those guys, oh my God. I had to start buying my clothes large when I was a medium or more. I've got like an XL jacket because I knew damn well it's coming from China. They don't know what the hell XL is. Um, I'll always be XL even if I get down to 180. I'm just too broad in the shoulders for a large. No worries. Trying to get the weight off my spine. I'm telling you, James, I had, like you, back issues that they said were never going to get better. And when I got down to 145, 150, the shit I could do that I hadn't been able to do in 10, 15 years, absolutely amazing. Just amazing results, and the feeling, I felt like the Flash, you know, like I could, damn near fly. I was, just such a weight was lifted trying to do just the simplest things were like a breeze, just, like a sudden, burst of nitro in the engines. A Nehru jacket is what you're looking for. Writing that down, bro. Where's my thing? Hold on. Always taking notes. Hold on, guys. Nehru. Admittedly, though, I do have to lose some weight before I'm going to buy a jacket like that, and make sure I can keep it off, because I don't think that look worked. If you guys remember the show UFO, there was a guy in the show, not the leader, the blonde guy. He was a little stouter, and it just didn't work for him. It just made him look even bigger, if you know what I mean. Uh, there is a tailoring place online where you take your measurements, and they you can make you basically anything. I want a 1950s teddy boy coat with big lapels. You probably absolutely love. Okay, Chris, I will get to that in just a second. Um, I bet you absolutely love the wardrobe for the prisoner. Oh, oh my God, I can't watch it. It's so hard for me to watch. I'm about 5 or 6 episodes in that jacket with the pinstriping around everything. Oh, it's just so. I just keep thinking that I'm going to end up looking like Sylvester McCoy walking around dressed like that. UFO TV show. I don't want to see you in see-through mesh clothing. You don't have the figure for it. N- no worries, dude. Never ever gonna happen. Frame it. The Rush baseball. You know what? That's a good idea. Um, although the wife like hates stuff framed and put on the walls if it's not uh, completely bland and uninspired and boring and has nothing to do with anything except for the big oil painting we have of her hometown, which is in a place that if there's an earthquake, it's sure to kill somebody because the frame is just massive. I mean, you could take the four pieces of the frame apart and like murder hundreds of people with the wood. It's just. Um, I had a Kraftwerk shirt, which turns out to be a really effective contraceptive. I might get an exercise bike when the garage is a bit clearer. They make them really small if you want, uh, and I recommend that, or really good shoes, or even better barefoot. I find actually running and jogging barefoot uh, is actually better for strengthening muscles and building up endurance and things like that. Got to hang out with your dog friend just the other night. I saw that. It was a cute little doggo. Um, uh, I really wish I would have got two when I got Chewy, so he'd have a friend. But it just didn't happen, and he's so he's so sensitive. It would just break his heart. Like, you got my replacement already? I can just see it. I just everybody else like, we should get a cat. We should get another dog. I'm like, no, you break his heart. He thinks he's special. You know. Now you're going to show him not only he's special, but he's on the way out. We need a new dog. No, we're not doing that. Asian sizing is definitely slim, and when certain retro styles got popular, there I just had to do a fair bit more homework. Yeah, I've actually got a place that sells parachute pants. You remember those guys? Oh yeah, I got a pair on my watch list as soon as I drop a couple pounds. Parachute pants and you remember the really like knee high moccasin boots? Freaking love those things, man. I could stash so much crap in those things. Just saying. I mean, I had more stuff in my boots than in my pockets. Uh, you have a boating blazer just like in the prisoner. I bet you do. You probably got the bowler hat or the boater hat as well. The straw hat. Jackie freaking loves that. So does uh, Dungeon Ministry. Loves Jackie's hat. See-through mesh clothing. I think that was RoboCop and Fifth Element. Yeah. Back in the late 90s, I saw two grown ass men in their mid to late 40s wearing t shirts with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And after that, I just couldn't bring myself to wear t shirts with pictures on them. Okay, that's a clear and obvious um, danger sign, something like that. But, like, freaking Warlord, man. I mean, nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody knows. They just see this picture and go, hey, that's a pretty cool picture, man. What is that? And then I get to tell them about this great comic book, or like other, more manly things that are not Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched that show in my life, except the one episode I watched was the one episode where they brought Buffy back from heaven and she was pissed. And I'm like, okay, That's exactly how I would feel, and I would do whatever it takes to get to go back. It was like at least they got that right. I don't know about anything else. I couldn't stand the actor who played uh, what's his name, Booth from Bones. Even though I watched the show, I'm like, who is this freaking mouth breathing mongoloid looking motherfucker? Like, this is who is this guy? I don't, why is he a thing? Um, when I was a goth, I tried to look like Gary Newman. LOL. I think I might have been broadcasting the wrong signals. I don't have any bears to borrow feet from. No, wearing no shoes, socks definitely, because you're going to be sweating, and that's going to be gross to leave sweaty footprints all over the house. There's this patch of rocks on the hiking trail. I always walk over because it literally massages sore feet. Yeah, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Chris, what if you had a T-shirt with those two guys in Buffy shirts on them? Uh, Shit could escalate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw bits of Buffy episodes. I don't know if I saw the entire episode. Yeah, I saw the movie. The movie was amusing. And the TV show, not my thing. It seemed like it was for a younger generation, younger folks. Um, just not my thing. And the only reason I watched Bones was because all the supporting characters, the Asian girl and her husband, and the young kid, the prodigy who got killed, all those characters were like these guys are these guys are like the show. They're more interesting than what's her name, Skeletor and Mouth Breather. It's just like these guys have absolutely no chemistry at all, not even with each other, but at all, And I just, it was on, I think, USA or TNT before or after Supernatural for a couple of years. And it was just on, and uh, I was staying at this hotel for a period of time. And every time I went to a new hotel, and, as I was traveling from state to state, that would be like the only thing on that I could watch when I wasn't working. So it's just like, I guess I'll watch Supernatural. I guess I'll watch a little bit of Bones, because it was that or Skinamax, and just no. If you want to wear a buff naked man in shorts, you do you. Hey, no, Tara, dude, it's all about Tara. She in this picture, she's quite gorgeous. In the comic book, she was awesome. I've got Vampirella. I've got Elvira. Most of, or at least half of my shirts either have a guy and a girl or a girl. It was on CW, but after it was on like one of the two, TNT or USA. An ex of mine loved Buffy and Angel. Watching them made me recall Trotsky and ice pick to the brain. Unless at work or out and about running errands, I'm barefoot. Yeah, 60/40. I've always got socks on at the bare minimum. Even like I've said this before. Even if I go to the beach, I got my combat boots on until I get to the waterline. Thank God Anthony Stewart Head didn't get Doctor Who. That choice is too obvious. I don't know who that is. I haven't watched a Doctor Who episode since David Tennant and Billy Piper's last episodes together. Then I was done. I'm like, I hate what you just did, and then it only got worse from there. Um, but James and I were talking. I'm probably going to hold on a second. I'm going to probably pick up Doctor Who Black and White up to uh, Sylvester McCoy or Christopher Eccleston. I think was his name. But yeah, this is probably my favorite of the Warlord slash Conan and Red Sonja shirts I have. The art is just it's sweet, and I got the Warlord omnibus the day it came out, and I read a couple of comic books, and I'm slowly reading it. I don't want to burn it out because I don't know when the next volume will come out. The guy who played Angel is playing Jim Rockford on the new Rockford Files reboot. Meh, yeah. It's weird. Like watching the show when I was a kid, I always thought like James Garner was just like a just gotta he's gotta be like this mega asshole. Boy, was I wrong. It turns out he was quite the stand up guy, and the more I read and watched about him, the more I like him. He really wasn't in a lot in my day to see him until I, started looking back at some of the movies and things like that he was in. Like even as a kid, I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he so big? Why is he such a big deal? He's just in the Rockford File, big whoop. You know, uh, Robert Holmes is amazing. I like the guy after Tennant and Peter. What's his face too? But Peter's companions were terrible. Peter was a good doc with dodgy stories. Yeah, you know what? Um, I couldn't get into it. I was so mad because you know, I guess I was shipping or whatever. Just uh, Rose and the doctor should have been a thing. That it was too obvious. Their age, their real life ages were so close. They seemed to have really good chemistry. Other than the black girl before Billy, I thought they would have made a really neat couple too. But that wasn't to be. She obviously wanted that to be a thing, you know, but it wasn't going to happen. And you know, Steven, I was hoping DM James would come on the show because I would hit him with so Hyperborea and the Warlord. Here's a story about a guy who crash lands into essentially Hyperborea with his freaking trusty 44 auto mag, and I mean a case of magazines that he apparently has throughout the entire comic strip, and it's never OP. It never, ruins the challenge for the character of Travis Morgan throughout the entire run of the story. He even goes back to regular Earth and comes back and stuff. I'm guessing to get more bullets. Um, and it doesn't ruin the story, because he was complaining, I can't get a laser pistol to a first level character. I'm like, why not? It's your game. You do whatever the frick you want, right? Suddenly, the lesser monsters when he shoots at them have a little bit more hit points, or maybe they just got max hit point on the die. Nobody's gonna know, nobody's gonna care, and it's gonna seem fair for everybody. And not breaking the rules. There's so many games out there that are, you know, uh, Arduin or Hyperborea esque, where you can start out with a flintlock or a musket or something like that. Everything great technologically has its downside, has some sort of you know yin to its yang, if you will. It's great here, but it sucks over here. So alternate between the situations for that character, and it won't be their go to for everything. I just shoot it. I just shoot it. I just shoot it. No, you run out of bullets, or it gets wet, or the armor is you know, not really having it, not just like ping, ping, or, there's all kinds of ways to deal with that. Yeah, Peter was the only reason I kept watching. When he curved to the woman, I stopped. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny how, uh, almost 12 doctors, and only now did they think to turn him into a woman because, reasons. It's like you think everybody's stupid, or they're just going to cave into that sort of mindset because look what it got them. It got them, lower ratings than ever before, even though there's more people on the planet. Yeah, making things gritty and adult does not make them better. David Tennant was doing the mixed messenger act on Martha Jones. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but uh, oh, was it after Billy? I don't remember. She was cute as hell. Um, I watch. Dang it, I can't read that comment. I watch METV most of the time because it's all old stuff. Everything being made now is crap. Hey, what's up, Brian? Long time no see, man. I was actually getting ready to call you on the actual telephone because it's been so long. I hope you guys are doing well and things are looking up. It was a good comic book. Warlord was one of my all time favorites next to John Carter and the X Men. I was a big fan of them for a while. The Avengers, but Red Fox. If you guys aren't familiar with that one, it was a short run, but it was fun. Cerebus. If it was black and white, there's a good chance I own it. If it was fantasy and not superheroes, good chance I own it. Um, but I own a crap ton of superhero comic books too. That's her name. I didn't like Donna. Once Doctor Who became Magic Space Boyfriend, they lost me. Well, look who the cat dragged in. Modern Who sucks, says Brian. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay has Black Powder in it as well. I'm going to include an Arquebus in my world when I get to run my next fantasy. The Arquebus was in the 2E Player's Handbook. It wasn't great. It could do lots of damage if you got that exploding dice lucky thing, but it could also just go click. I'm bad nerd. I never really watched Doctor Who. Um, don't sweat it, Mike. It's never too late. Heavy Metal magazine was awesome. I've got a Creepy magazine, Vampirella magazine, and I think Eerie downstairs, as well as some more Vampirella omnibuses. The best way to buy comic books going forward. You get a hardcover in hand edition of something that will last with better paper. Nothing taken out except the ads, I think, for the most part, and it will last hundreds of years if taken care of properly. And you can share them with somebody else. You take off the slipcover and you put it in front of your niece or your nephew and go, hey, check this out, and you just watch their eyes just light up, as they're taking in stuff that that they'd never see elsewhere, and they would never get the experience. BBC prepped everyone with the Master Mistress storyline. How freaking lame is it? The new heavy metal ain't bad. Savage. I've got the first. I've got the Savage Sword of Conan, Conan the Barbarian, King Conan, and Kull in omnibus, as well as Rom and some other things that I liked. I liked Rom because uh, it was just so different from the other superheroes. And it had nothing to do with the toy. I didn't even really know about the toy. I wish I did when I was a kid because it seemed like a cool toy. But the comic book was one of the you know one of those amazing things that happened because of a toy line. The Micronauts, the same thing. GI Joe, Rom. I don't know about the Shogun Warriors, but I am actually planning on getting the Shogun Warriors and GI Joe in omnibus form so I can read like the big four. I probably won't do Transformers, but the big four toy crossover comic books because so far I know at least two or three out of four were amazing in comic book form, despite what you might think. It's like, oh, it's a comic book about a toy. No surprise there. They're just trying to market their toys. Yeah, but it can also be awesome. And I don't mean just member berries or nostalgia bait or anything like that. I mean from what I hear, the GI Joe comic books were actually like amazing, like up there with maybe even like the Nom or other such comic books. You know, Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos and things like that, where they actually and gripping and intriguing and exciting and maybe even brutal in their storytelling, letting you know that hey, This ain't for everybody, and thank God we got heroes like that. 10th Doctor kind of strung Martha Jones along, and now he's an interior decorator. What's up, Brian? Slaying the Berserker comics from 2000 AD was awesome. I love 2000 AD. My dad's friend at work would bring home from the UK those newspaper comic books with Doctor Who. What was the other one? Obviously Judge Dredd, but Rogue Trooper, Slain, and there were other things in there. I just freaking love those. I might even look into maybe seeing if I can't find some. I actually have the full run of Gru, and I never read a single one of them. They are for sale. I'm just saying, because I was just never into it. I love Sergio Aragonés's work in Mad Magazine and everything, but it just never appealed to me. I didn't like Gord. I liked Phineas Fingers, but most fantasy parodies really just don't. That's not my thing. I didn't like Spell for Chameleon and that whole Ogre or Ogre Island or all those books, all that stuff. Even the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not really a fan. Red Dwarf, on the other hand, absolutely a masterpiece. I like the idea of guns cause a save versus death if they hit. That's very accurate, but it's a little maybe a little too on the nose. I still have some ElfQuest lying around. Back when I was 14, running games at the Unicorn's Lair, that was hugely popular. I got like not an omnibus, but like a an annual or a big issue that had a bunch of issues in it, and I just freaking did not like it. Yeah, creepy, scared the shit out of me as a kid, dude. I'm telling you, man, I love Creepy and Eerie magazine. Um, if I could only have 10 collections, Creepy at least, Eerie less because it was kind of the runoff. They had so many stories coming in. Uh, that they ran into that. But Vampirella, Conan, and Creepy Magazine would be on my shelf if I could have nothing else. Marvel, Conan, number 14 and 15, Elric. Yes, I know. But I'm telling you, Elric was portrayed better in Cerebus. If you've never read or heard about Cerebus, the Aardvark, you are missing out on some of the greatest art and unique storytelling. Mind you, there's some things in there you may not like, but since you're watching this show, you'll probably be okay with it. You may like go, tilt your head a little, like, okay, moving right along. It was just Sims did an absolutely amazing job on that comic book. Did everything he set out to do, and paved the way for all independent comic book creators from there going forward, and he will be remembered at least for that. I hope. Commando is releasing all sorts of omnibuses these days. Well, Brian, tell me more. Would you like to know more? GI Joe comics were actually good. That's what I'm hearing. Is one of your favorites, Larry Hama. Exactly. I'm just waiting to find the omnibus at a decent price. I've heard good things about Tintin, but if I'm going to go back that far, I want to finish off my Corto Maltese comic strip. You met him several times. He's a great guy. One at a time, man. I've only got so much money to throw away on comic books and miniatures and all this crap, and I'm trying to save more for Jackie's college, and instead of buying so much dumb stuff, hobby stuff, I am looking at buying quality things that I'm going to use that I can hand down to Jackie. I've got like a Zippo lighter on the list and a new Swiss Army knife, actually for him, not for me, because I've had this one. I've had this Swiss Army knife over 30 years. The only thing wrong is it's missing the toothpick, the tweezers, the scissor spring is broken, and it's missing this plastic. But except for that, I still use it every freaking day. whether it's the knife, the file, the pliers, any of the screwdrivers. Hell, I actually I actually used the can opener a couple of nights ago because someone had put the can opener in the dishwasher, and the dishwasher was running, and it's like I wanted to make something out of a can, right? And I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't want, I don't want to wait like 2 hours for the dishwasher. I'm not going to interrupt it. Oh, hey, I'm going to go. I could have just went and got my P34 and tried that, but I know as tough as those are, I'd rather just leave that there for a real emergency. Ran up, got the Swiss Army knife. Next thing I know, I was cooking whatever it was. Wait. What am I missing? Yeah, Tintin. I've heard about it. I've seen, little bits and pieces over the years. Called the Mercenary. At least it was worth it for the generous heart. Okay, list. Where's my list? Where's my list? Writing this shit down, folks. 10, 10, and the Mercenary comic. I'm also looking to pick up that are on my short list. Um, Prince Valiant. I just picked up all the Flash Gordon and what's the other one? Oh, Mad Magazine, the early years. Um, the old Mad Magazine when it was in color. The little, well, I don't know if it was little, but later on they reprinted those color comic books in their like annual or whatever. They'd have a special issue of Mad Magazine to be the regular big black and white, but glued into it sort of was a miniature copy of the old colored comic books that were way different than Mad went from like surrealistic, trippy '60s crazy art, sort of along the lines of Fat Freddy's Cat and the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers and Fritz the Cat, that kind of art style, to what we got later, which was more realistic, nice artwork. Don't get me wrong, it was beautiful, but it was usually just like regular people doing regular stuff with funny little word bubbles. Yeah, John Blanche was it was easily in the top 10 game artists as far as I'm concerned. Never heard of the Africa comic? It didn't age so well. Yeah, that's what they say about Corto Maltese, but you know what? It's still highly sought after. So much, it was so respected that it was, named in the Dark Knight series. You need a master list in Discord. Cool stuff. The chat mentions that's a good idea. Uh, that I'm going to write down master list of cool stuff to check out. I'm even giving it 3 exclamation points there, Mike. Speaking of, how you doing, Mike? You back from your road trip? Uh, okay, now I got to write that down too. You got to write down freaking weird Italian names. Vigsegar. Okay, done. Mike, I wanted to ask you: are you ready for the craft challenge? Due this Sunday. We got Thursday, got Friday, got Saturday, got Sunday. So you could maybe, quite possibly, win this fantabulous book. I mean, it's in beautiful condition. Number one, you have to get the rest yourself. Flash Gordon, Mongo, The Planet of Doom by Alex Raymond. The comic strips from 1934 to 1935. You'll get a kick out of it. You might not be everything you hope for, but it's def. I'm really glad I've got it in my collection. So much so that it's downstairs in my reading area for things that you know I read for fun, for enjoyment, not for the channel or research or anything like that. Just to kick back and read something ridiculous. Um, oh, Viz, I remember Viz. Yes, I absolutely do remember that. It's filthy but hilarious. The letters section, feeling nostalgic for prison. Try staring through the time. Hergé had a very contemporary Belgian idea about Africa. It is nice, and if you make a craft and submit it, but before you make the craft, you got to go to the craft video and say I'm in. Make a craft, have it ready by Sunday, uh, Sunday night. A craft, anything for your gaming table, and send me a picture in the Discord along with everybody else, and then everybody else will vote to see who gets it. And I, because it's so lightweight and stuff, I think I could ship it relatively cheaply to Australia. Tell them that it's only worth $1. No, nothing to steal here. It is really nice. It's I mean I know why they did it, but the spine is here. The book is like this. So in my bookshelf, they're like this. You know what I mean? So I gotta like kind of look, go, oh, okay, there's number two. You know, makes it. Most bookshelves are not this wide, and if they are, the book's going to be sticking out this much. You know, from the rest of the books. But anybody else who wants to make a craft and try and win that, you got a couple of days. Just go to the original video, say I'm in, as in I will take up the challenge and try to win the prize and make a craft. I mean, I could literally do something. Start right now. I might even do that just to show everybody how easy it is. Take 1 hour and make something out of stuff. Mind you, you can't spend more than $10 on the merchant the the materials, if you will. Take care. Wait, who's going to sleep? Bo? I'm still Midwest spending time with the in-laws. Ooh. Oh, okay. Take care, Bo. I just love the pulp art style. It's economical with lines, but very expressive. It absolutely is. Sleep well. I want to show you something, if I can. Okay, look, it's going to be up close. Look at the faces. There's nothing there. There's more nothing there than there's actual ink. But look at her nose. Okay, her nose is made up of two dots, perfectly positioned for nostrils, and a little hint coming down from the eyebrow of the where the top of her nose is, and then look over at Flash. His eyes are made up of shadow. His eyebrows, you know there's something there, but you couldn't tell what color his eyes are. I mean, they're blue because he's a big, strong white Aryan, whatever. But just there's nothing there. And Mike, I bet if you went and dug around, you could find some stuff where you are. Say, hey guys, I need some super glue, some scissors, an X-Acto knife, and an egg carton, and an hour of peace and quiet. Leave me alone. I got to do something. And you could probably stand a 50-50 chance of making a craft that might win. I remember one time my local comic store had an employee who wasn't paying attention and had a cherry pop tart comic in with the regular Archies. um, yeah, I see those pop up in my feed every once in a while for comic books on eBay and stuff like that. And the prices for those quite stunning. I have no idea what's in them. I wouldn't mind reading one just so I could go, oh, okay, not my style, or yeah, this is a thing, because it's still very popular, and they do bring quite a bit of money, but you can't leave that stuff out for the little ones to accidentally buy, because you could have some very awkward conversations with parents or kids should they come across the comic book and not understand what's going on. Flash gets it. Underpants, boots, and a cape is all weather gear. Not sure why my shopping center got so angry. Right. It's 1930s. I mean, none of us here were around, but everything is, in that book at least is, uh, it all makes sense. And it still works today. I mean, if they redid it and just tried to stay as close to the movie as possible, they'd still uh, sorry folks, they'd still have a hit. You know, if your local theater today, wherever you are, said on Friday night we are going to play the original Flash Gordon the movie, the seats would be filled. And we were talking about this because right across the street, I mean, across the street from where I live, is this big empty lot, and they're getting ready to, or at least talk about putting in a drive-in theater for my little town. That could almost be enough reason to want to stay and stick around, almost. Because Jackie's never been to a drive-in movie. His mom's never been to a drive-in movie. They have no idea what the big deal is about going to a drive-in movie. And it would be like, you know what? I don't mind sitting in the back seat. Jackie, mom, you guys can sit in the front seat, sit, eat your popcorn in the car, watch the movie through the crappy speakers, and tell me that this isn't freaking amazing. And now that he's got his own car, in a year he could be just taking his date to the drive-in movie. Grandkids on the way. Just saying, it's not like modern sci-fi doesn't conflate stiffness and dullness with sophistication. Give me lurid fantasy, science fantasy with Martian swashbuckling any day, right? That's why it blows me away that Disney did what it did to John Carter, and that only now, I mean, what is it? 14 years later, maybe we could call it 12 or 13 years later, that someone's making an animated John Carter, over 100 years after it first came out, not the movie, the novel, Princess of Mars. And we're going to get like a real John Carter cartoon that might, last, and might be able to go the distance of all 10 novels. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't, other than money. Movie night at the RPG retirement home. That would be a thing too, right? That would be a thing. I'm not giving up on that. That's got to be a thing. I think though it would have to be in Florida, just because the only way to get the financing and the diversity of interest would be Florida, other than maybe in the Great Lakes area. Man, the drive-in was one of my happiest memories. Might even grow a quiff and roll a pack of fake Marlboro on my sleeve. Dude, I did that. It's funny you mentioned that. Um, I was in second grade and we had a 50s day at school. And I told my mom, like right before school, it's like, Mom, today's 50s day. What do I do? I don't know. And she's like, I got you, kid. She did my hair up, white t-shirt, jeans, rolled up the cuffs, and then took a pack of Marlboros, rolled them up in my sleeve, and next thing you know, I won second place in the contest. Yeah, somebody else, some girl had like a poodle skirt, and of course she's gonna win. Hold the phone. Oh, they are. What? Yeah, yes, they are making a John Carter cartoon. Uh, they announced it. I want to say at San Diego Con or late last year, something like that. We have a drive-in where I live, and the food isn't too overpriced. Uh, you can bring your own, but I mean, you're going to the drive-in. You just shell out. You just make it a thing, and you just chalk it up, or you take the money from some other place, that's there, that's earmarked for that kind of a situation, and you take who you take, and you do the stuff, you just enjoy it, and if it's a decent uh, drive-in, it'll have a playground, so you can get there early. Get a good spot, get there early, bring the kids. Some drive-ins I've even seen had barbecue grills, like permanent. You can grill your own stuff here because you don't want to buy our overpriced, century-old hot dogs. Maybe you want chicken or something, so you can borrow the barbecue, set it up, roast some marshmallows, make some chicken, burgers, whatever, um, and the kids can play as they watch the sun go down because it's perfectly spaced to where uh, or located to where if you were at the drive-in theater, uh, you could literally watch the sun go down over the mountains, get that beautiful orange and blue and black, and wait for the music and the lights to come on. I don't drive either, James. I show up wearing a box with paper plate wheels. uh, I don't know. Maybe you could rent an Uber. Wouldn't that be freaking hysterical? It's like, hey, I need an Uber. Where to? Drive-in theater. Hey, I'll tell you what. You want to go? Wouldn't that be like the weirdest like first date ever? I asked this random girl if she wanted to go out to the movie. Random Uber driver, and next thing you know, we got two kids, a dog, and a cat, and a yard together. Um, Someday someone will steal that idea. I'll be dead, but they'll be like, "Oh, how'd you meet mom and dad?" Well, you're not going to believe this. Let me tell you about the story about this thing called Uber, right? That would be freaking hysterical, right? Cardboard box and paper plate wheels. Fucking James. You freaking killing me today. Well, funny because I've been here an hour and 53 minutes all by my lonesome, and there's still 11 of you guys out there watching me freaking wax idiotic about stuff that, long gone or yet to be done, things that need to be done, things that need to be not forgotten. And let's see, Chris. My first time, my parents took me to a drive-in. We pulled up to speaker, and there was a used condom tied off and hanging there like a mini water balloon. My dad swore. I'm so sorry, dude. That is so gross and so funny because someone had the wherewithal to leave the most incriminating DNA evidence you could think of in the most public of places for a laugh. It's so gross, so just awful, awful. I mean, what exactly would that crime be called in the books? Because it's not. I don't even know. Littering is not strong enough, right? When I went with an old GF, actually to see John Carter, burgers looked a bit too greasy and expensive, so I just had a Fanta. Dad, how did you and Mom meet? She was an Uber driver, and I gave her a great tip. Ha ha ha. Dean, that's it. That is it, right? When you least expect it. Dean will freaking hit you with something. Normally, it's a really corny dad joke, but well, that's a dad joke, all right. But bump. So it's almost the weekend. You guys got anything cool planned besides trying to win my craft challenge? Just saying. I have got a game with OGGM on Saturday. Hope you guys will watch. Where we? Oh, actually, I don't know if we're playing. Mike, are we playing? We not might not be because you're not around, and I think Grandma might be also otherwise occupied, which sucks because uh, I look forward to that game a lot. I wish Cal was still playing with us, but I get it. Saturdays are hard, even for me. I'm surprised I haven't missed more sessions than anybody else, but I put the foot down. I got a meeting. That's what I always say. Yeah, I got a meeting. Okay. My wife, has no idea. I mean, she might, think I am actually in a game, but she doesn't know what the game actually is. She doesn't understand that. But no, it's important. I got a meeting. It's scheduled. Blah blah blah. Okay, it is. It's important. Daddy needs to roll some freaking critical hits on some imaginary monsters to get his frustrations out and get his game on. Right? Be thankful that those who litter aren't reproducing. It's like a cross between a cannoli and a gay landmine. He moved game. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. We went there to see Firefox. Oh my god. Yeah, that movie was kind of wasn't that a was that a Clint Eastwood movie? I remember it was awful with the mind controlled airplane. Which, believe it or not, um, I saw Mr. Alan Alda in a PBS video way before that movie ever came out, where they were showing um, a guy in a booth sitting in a chair. Huh, that's kind of cool looking sprue, isn't it? I think I'm gonna save that maybe for like a picture. I think I could turn that into like a really cool picture frame, or maybe like a map frame. I don't know. Um, but they had Alan Alda was the narrator or whatever of this show on PBS, and there was an Air Force pilot sitting in a booth with a bunch of electrodes on his head and a screen that they had set up, and this was way before the Firefox movie, and he was showing how the pilot, without moving his hands, just thinking left, right, etc., could control the video game sort of uh, airplane on the screen. And I'm like, this was like 40 years ago, easy. Um, and if they could do that back then, you know, what could they do? I wondered like how long has drone technology actually been a thing? I bet it's older than we know, and I can tell you a story of an encounter I had with a drone um, in the '80s that was very very weird. The F-35s have a autonomous takeoff and landing, not a bad purchase. Yeah, yeah, it was boring. Uh, it was boring. That's rough, man. That's rough. So, folks, it's been 2 hours. I need to use the restroom, do some stuff. Uh, Thanks for hanging out with me and making me forget that I was all by myself. I didn't have any of my usual compatriots here to come on live and bounce ideas off. But you guys were the best. When you take the spyware out of it, left there in the core coding, sure, sure. I'm gonna go do some people stuff that I got to do. You guys don't want to hear about, but you guys have a great day. It's Thursday, so I won't be doing anything spectacular tonight. Maybe calling you, James. Also, get some rest. Everybody else out there, have yourself a great day. Thanks again for hanging out with me. And until then, happy trails.